In today's video, we are going to break open a brand new topic, and that topic is circles. All right, don't think we are done with SOHCAHTOA. Don't think we're done with triangles. We're not. But for now, we're going to look at some circles. Now, there is going to be a fair amount of vocabulary in this video, so I very much encourage you to pause right now, go to your backpack or your bag or wherever it is, find your notes, and bring them back to wherever it is that you're sitting and watching this, because this vocabulary is stuff that you're going to need to know, and none of this is going to make sense if you don't have the vocabulary in front of you. I'll wait. All right, I won't wait for very long. So let's remind ourselves of a couple of pieces of vocabulary about circles from last year or the year before. Now, the circumference of a circle, as I'm sure you all remember, is just the distance all the way around, right? If I was to walk all the way around the circle, the circumference is the distance that I would be walking. So that's circumference. Now, here's a new piece of vocabulary. An arc is just a section of the circumference, a piece. So for example, I've got this circle here over to the left. Here's the center, which I'm going to call C for center, or for circle, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to call this point here point A, and I'm going to call this point here point B. Okay? So if I want to know what the length is from here, this point A, to here, this point B, around the circle, that's an arc. Think of it as a piece of the pizza crust that is often left over when you're done with your piece of pizza. Now, like anything else, we need to have some way of denoting which arc we mean, so that we don't have to just point and say, here, this one. So like most other things, we are going to go with A, B, and we're going to put a symbol over it. But instead of like a straight symbol for a line segment or an arrow for a ray, we're going to put a little arc above AB to denote arc AB. Now, we want to be careful here, though, because if you'll notice, because this is a circle, there are two ways to get from point A to point B, right? I can start at A, and I can take the short way, right? Or I can start at A, and I can take the long way around. So that means that this symbol, arc AB, is kind of ambiguous. We don't know whether it is the short arc or the long arc, so we have to come up with a rule for that. And the rule is that if you're just told the arc between 2 points, you are always assuming the shortest arc between. Okay, so that AB with an arc over it denotes the shortest arc that contains points A and B. And we call that, when it's the shorter of the two possibilities, we call that the minor arc. All right, a minor arc is an arc that is less than halfway around the circle. So if I say arc AB, I'm automatically assuming it is the minor arc between them, as opposed to, let's say I have another point here, point D. I could say arc ADB. And that would still denote the shortest arc that contains points A and D and B, so I have to go around the other way. It automatically means the major arc the major arc that goes from A to B, but through point D. So a major arc is an arc that is more than half a circle. And then a half a circle is a semicircle. You already know that. Now, again, take a moment, pause the video. Please make sure you've got all of this down, because this is much more difficult if you don't understand the words that I will be using for the rest of the video. So there are two ways of measuring an arc, okay? Arc measure is a measure of how far around the circle does this arc go. So for example, in our circle here over to the left, if I have a radius that goes out to A and a radius that goes out to B, okay, this angle here, let's say it looks like it's about, I don't know, 70 degrees, let's say. That central angle, okay, that central angle of 70 degrees is going to be the same measure as this arc. So we could say that the measure of arc AB, and remember, because I'm just saying arc AB, it's automatically assumed to be the shorter of the two arcs, is equal to 70 degrees. Now, there's another word up here that's super confusing, this word subtended. So let's go ahead and define that. Subtended is just a fancy way of saying an angle that intersects with an arc. So this 70-degree angle is subtended because it intersects with that arc AB. You're not going to hear me using the word subtended very often, but it does come up on Khan Academy, so I want you to know what it means. So that's the measure of an arc. And of course, that's not the only way that you can measure an arc, right? That is just degrees, and that degree will be the same regardless of how big or small the circle is, right? 70 degrees is 70 degrees, whether the circle is really small or whether the circle is really big. The difference is that the arcs can be different lengths. Arc length just means exactly what it says, the length of an arc. It's dependent on the angle that is subtended, that 70-degree angle, but this would be a very different answer if this was a circle that was 5 inches wide versus if it was a circle that was 17 miles wide, right? That would make this distance different, even though this 70-degree angle would be the same. So that's the difference between arc measure and arc length. Arc measure is an angle. How much of the circle is it subtending? And the arc length is how far would you actually go between point A and point B along that circle. So that is an awful lot of vocabulary that I have thrown at you all at once. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and my next video is going to be on how to actually find arc measure. There are 2 Khan Academies that you will be doing. One of which just says finding arc measure, the other of which says finding arc measure with equations. We will cover both of those in one video, and then of course, as always, I will do example problems. And that will take us to the end of the week. Next week, we will talk more about how to actually find the length of arcs, and then we'll talk about radians. So for now, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying happy. I hope you're taking care of yourself and each other. Have a great day. Class dismissed.